Hello friends, how are you this evening? I'm coming to you live from Rosie's Dog Beach with another Dark World Lightwork matter. This time, it's about the library. So there is a particular library that I go to a few times a week, and last time I was there, I was sitting at a desk and it smelled like poop. Like it really smelled like poop, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I looked all over the place, and on one of the chairs that was at the desk that I was sitting at, there was something on the chair that looked like poop. And I got what's it called? Like a bunch of antibacterials, and I wiped it off. And I was like, it just looks a lot like poop. And it was just really disturbing to me, but I just passed it off. I was like, it has to be food or something. And I moved on. So today I come back to this same gym after a few days, and this guy, I'm going to cover his face, but this guy comes in and sits down at the desk next to me. And this man is covered in poop, and he smells like poop. It was really, really disturbing. Now, this is a big problem because both the state, the county, the town, the place where this man lives, whoever's the mayor of this town should be impeached or whatever it is. If there's a mayor of this place, you need to get the fuck out of here. Because the fact that you have something this bad going on in your city and you're sitting in some mansion or some fancy house or something in some halls somewhere playing fucking games is not cool. Whoever is the leadership in this place needs to be replaced, and this guy is gross too. Some of these homeless people get on my fucking nerves because they're nasty. He had so much shit, and I'm talking about literal feces, on his hands that there were fingerprints of poop all over the desk. And I know that it was this man's shit that was on the seat. The front of his shirt was covered in poop. His hands, it was so thick that everything he touched left a smear of poop. That's a big problem. That is a big problem that somebody needs to address. The police are supposed to be public servants. They're supposed to protect and serve. You protect this guy. Serve the community by fixing this problem. It is unbelievable that in the year 2025, in a so-called civilized society, that I had to witness something like that today. It is absolutely ridiculous, and it needs to change. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about something like this. How do you call yourself a highly evolved, intelligent, adult human being and allow something like this to go on under your power structure, under your jurisdiction? It's a fucking mess, and it needs to stop. Here's that right here, peeing behind the tree. So in case you were thinking that I was just making this up, I've been here for 5 minutes. And this is a guy peeing by the tree. This will happen at least 4 more times if I stay here throughout the evening. I'm just gonna get the whole thing. Oh, he really must have drank a lot on his way to this freaking place. Absolutely fucking ridiculous. I don't have time lapse this. Motherfucker. And the craziest part is that this library has both a security guard and a police officer that sits in the library. Neither of them did anything. One of the librarians told the police officer about the guy, and they were just like, oh, just leave him. Now, if this was somebody doing something, not doing anything wrong, they would have shooed him away. This is the problem. These people don't want to address anything actually happening because then they would have to do work. All they want to do is start bringing attention to somebody doing nothing so they can look like they're doing work. It's absolutely pathetic. And then the librarian drew attention to the issue. The security guard completely ignored it, and the cop said to leave him alone. Great. That's what we call progress. I just got distracted. Anyway, do you know how I say that I'm a conduit to the Holy Ghost? What an intro. And do you know how they say that God has a sense of humor? Okay. I recently made a video. Sorry about my hair. Clementine and I just came back from a walk on the beach, but I just recently made a video where I talked about how I discovered my Google Photos password, and I talked about how Google finally did something right. I just made a video where I talked about Google Photos and how I found my photos and videos on Google Photos. One of them is the following video that it's so incredible to me that this would be one of the topics that I
found this beautiful thing called Google Photos, and it's beautiful yet very creepy because I logged on to this thing for what I thought, and I do believe, is the first time. And guess what came up when I did it? Every picture I've ever taken on any iPhone I've ever had in the history of my entire life. So I'm talking about pictures from like 2010. And even pictures that I didn't take on my iPhone, like pictures that I took on a camera and uploaded, I don't even know where, maybe to Picasa, which I think might be owned by Google. I don't know. All I know is this shit's fucking creepy as fuck. However, why am I screaming? Let's not do that. Why am I screaming, really? That was way ridiculous. What was I gonna say? Oh, however, while it's all true that it's creepy and I believe that it's somehow following us around, which is very creepy, it's amazing because now I have all these pictures that I thought were once lost and actually had forgotten about. Sorry. It's called incognito because there's a lot of people driving by, and this is highly illegal, I believe. So anyway, what I was saying is that I have a lot of pictures that I had no idea were somewhere in some sort of weird Google cloud, and I'm glad to see them. I'm terrified that they're watching me and you and all of us that way. However, I'm glad they're looking out for me. Because that shit would have been lost. With that being said, the reason that I have to use Google Photos is because bitch ass Apple doesn't let you upload your photos from your iPhone unless you have another Apple product. Which I saw the Steve Jobs movie and he was an asshole for doing that. And they've kept that alive though, alive and well, and they've actually made it much, much worse than I think he ever could have even imagined. So that's great. And please remind me never to buy another Apple product as long as I shall live. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to participate in that kind of fuckery. Like, I just think that it's disgusting to be painted into a corner where you have to buy all of the accompanying products. And that, you know what else I think is really weird and gross? The people who are so indoctrinated into the Apple culture that they think that the other stuff doesn't work. Like if you buy an MP3 player from someone else and you attach it to an Apple product and it doesn't work, you're like, oh, MP3 players don't work. Windows things don't work. No, Apple just doesn't work with anything. And then they think that it's annoying. I've always hated Apple for the reason that I hate this phone now. I've always hated Apple, and I found out that my reasons were justified when I saw the Steve Jobs movie and saw that he wanted a completely closed off system. He wanted to make it difficult for you to be able to use anything other than his product, which as a businessman, okay, you're fantastic business mind, obviously. But as a human being, you're kind of a fucking asshole. And that's a real dick move. Especially because of the ever-changing nature of technology. It's just, I don't know. Please don't get me started. Because if I get started, then it's just gonna be, no more.
I guess it makes sense because I am who I am and I was who I was back then and I'm still who I am right now. But it is just so funny and my thoughts on it are completely different than they are now, but they're on the same timeline. The timeline was, I am suspicious of this thing, right? And now I'm like, well, everybody knows what everybody thinks about Google, right? And everybody knows what everybody knows about Google now. But at the time, everything about me was different. But it was the same thread. Like, I still had the same basic inner knowing. But my level of understanding of what I knew was different. I didn't know what I know now. I don't think any of us did. This is from like 2000. I'm not even going to say the number because I can't remember. I think Clementine is 11 years old, by the way, because I saw the photo of when I got her and it was in 2014. Is that 11? Somebody help. Is that 11? Last time I checked. So I think Clementine's 11. By the way, I thought she was 13 because I don't know what happened. I don't want to get into it, but I thought she was like 11, then 10, then... It's just... That's not my thing. I think we're both eternal, okay? Thank you. So I'm very glad to have discovered these photos because, number one, I thought all my photos were lost, and I really do have a lot, and I even have some of when I was very young, so I'm very excited about that. And number two, we live in a sort of Pics or it didn't happen kind of world where most people have most of their life online or at least documented in some sort of fashion somewhere. And so for me to have this tremendously out there story and what I thought was going to be no photographic evidence was not, I didn't like the idea of it either. So to discover all of these photos going back all the way, I mean, if the memoir, Dark World Light Work, which is the whole point of this channel, is about my life. So all of the photos are relevant, you know what I mean? Especially because I have written about so much of my life and because when I was younger, I loved not necessarily social media, but I did love photographs. And I was in my 20s before, and I loved putting pictures of myself online. I loved MySpace. It was my absolute favorite because you could decorate the page. I loved that. I would redecorate and decorate my page, and I always had a different theme song. I loved MySpace. I think it was the cheesiest one, but I'm kind of cheesy. You could decorate the page. That's so much fun. I love stuff like that. Even now, like if I was going to play a game, it would be a game where you could just decorate something like that and then just keep doing it. Anyway, I also loved Instagram at the beginning when it was just pictures. And now it seems like it's just ads. But what was I saying? Oh, anyway, so I had a lot of photos and I'm very excited to be able to have now photos to match the poetry, to match the book, to match the soundtrack, to match the whole thing. When I said receipts, I have receipts, friends. I have receipts that I even thought I had because now I have pictures. So it did happen on these hoes. Okay. Anyway, oh, too much or too much too soon? Don't give a